Chapter 13. And Jehovah spoke further to Moses, saying, Sanctify to me every male firstborn that opens each womb among the sons of Israel, among men and beasts. It is mine. And Moses went on to say to the people, Let there be a remembering of this day on which you went out of Egypt from the house of slaves, because by strength of hand Jehovah brought you out from here. So nothing leavened may be eaten. Today you are going out in the month of Abib, and it must occur that when Jehovah will have brought you into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he swore to your forefathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, then you must render this service in this month. 7 days you are to eat unfermented cakes, and on the 7th day is a festival to Jehovah. Unfermented cakes are to be eaten for the 7 days, and nothing leavened is to be seen with you, and no sour dough is to be seen with you within all your boundaries. And you must tell your son on that day, saying, It is because of that which Jehovah has done to me when I came out of Egypt. And it must serve for you as a sign upon your hand, and as a memorial between your eyes, in order that Jehovah's law may prove to be in your mouth, because by a strong hand Jehovah brought you out of Egypt. And you must keep this statute at its appointed time, from year to year. And it must occur that when Jehovah brings you into the land of the Canaanites, just as he has sworn to you and to your forefathers, and when he does give it to you, then you must devote every one that opens the womb to Jehovah, and every firstling, the young of a beast, which will come to be yours. The males belong to Jehovah. And every firstling ass you are to redeem with a sheep, and if you will not redeem it, then you must break its neck. And every firstborn of man among your sons you are to redeem. And it must occur that in case your son should inquire of you later on, saying, What does this mean? Then you must say to him, By strength of hand Jehovah brought me out of Egypt from the house of slaves, and it came about that Pharaoh showed obstinacy toward sending us away, and Jehovah proceeded to kill every firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of man to the firstborn of beast. That is why I am sacrificing to Jehovah all the males that open the womb, and every firstborn of my sons I redeem. And it must serve as a sign upon your hand, and as a frontlet band between your eyes, because by strength of hand Jehovah brought us out of Egypt. And it came about at the time of Pharaoh sending the people away, that God did not lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines, just because it was near. For God said, It might be the people will feel regret when they see war, and will certainly return to Egypt. Hence God made the people go round about by the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea. But it was in battle formation that the sons of Israel went up out of the land of Egypt. And Moses was taking Joseph's bones with him, because he had made the sons of Israel solemnly swear, saying, God will without fail turn his attention to you, and you must take my bones up out of here with you. And they proceeded to depart from Succoth, and to encamp at Etham, at the edge of the wilderness. And Jehovah was going ahead of them in the daytime in a pillar of cloud to lead them by the way, and in the night-time in a pillar of fire to give them light to go in the daytime and night-time. The pillar of cloud would not move away from before the people in the daytime, nor the pillar of fire in the night-time. Chapter 14. Jehovah now spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel, that they should turn back and encamp before Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, in view of Baal-zephon. In front of it you are to encamp by the sea. Then Pharaoh will certainly say respecting the sons of Israel, They are wandering in confusion in the land. The wilderness has closed in upon them. So I shall indeed let Pharaoh's heart become obstinate, and he will certainly chase after them, and I shall get glory for myself by means of Pharaoh and all his military forces. And the Egyptians will certainly know that I am Jehovah." Accordingly, they did just that. Later it was reported to the king of Egypt that the people had run away. Immediately, the heart of Pharaoh, as well as his servants, was changed regarding the people, so that they said, "What is this that we have done, in that we have sent Israel away from slaving for us?" So he proceeded to make his war chariots ready, and he took his people with him. And he proceeded to take 600 chosen chariots, and all the other chariots of Egypt and warriors upon every one of them. Thus Jehovah let the heart of Pharaoh the king of Egypt become obstinate, and he went chasing after the sons of Israel, while the sons of Israel were going out with uplifted hand. And the Egyptians went chasing after them, and all the chariot horses of Pharaoh, and his cavalrymen and his military forces were overtaking them while camping by the sea, by Pi-hahiroth, in view of Baal-zephon. When Pharaoh got close by, the sons of Israel began to raise their eyes, and here the Egyptians were marching after them. And the sons of Israel got quite afraid, and began to cry out to Jehovah. And they proceeded to say to Moses, "Is it because there are no burial places at all in Egypt that you have taken us here to die in the wilderness? What is this that you have done to us in leading us out of Egypt? Is this not the word we spoke to you in Egypt, saying, 'Let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians'? For it is better for us to serve the Egyptians than for us to die in the wilderness." Then Moses said to the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm and see the salvation of Jehovah, which he will perform for you today. For the Egyptians whom you do see today, you will not see again. No, never again. Jehovah will himself fight for you, and you yourselves will be silent." Jehovah now said to Moses, "Why do you keep crying out to me? Speak to the sons of Israel that they should break camp. As for you, lift up your rod and stretch your hand out over the sea, and split it apart, that the sons of Israel may go through the midst of the sea on dry land. As for me, here I am letting the hearts of the Egyptians become obstinate, that they may go in after them, and that I may get glory for myself by means of Pharaoh and all his military forces, his war chariots and his cavalrymen. And the Egyptians will certainly know that I am Jehovah, when I get glory for myself by means of Pharaoh, his war chariots, and his cavalrymen." Then the angel of the true God, who was going ahead of the camp of Israel, departed, and went to their rear. And the pillar of cloud departed from their van, and stood in the rear of them. So it came in between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. On the one hand it proved to be a cloud together with darkness. On the other hand it kept lighting up the night. And this group did not come near that group all night long. Moses now stretched his hand out over the sea, and Jehovah began making the sea go back by a strong east wind all night long, and converting the sea basin into dry ground, and the waters were being split apart. At length the sons of Israel went through the midst of the sea on dry land, while the waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians took up the pursuit, and all the horses of Pharaoh, his war chariots and his cavalrymen, began going in after them into the midst of the sea. And it came about during the morning watch that Jehovah began to look out upon the camp of the Egyptians from within the pillar of fire and cloud. And he went throwing the camp of the Egyptians into confusion, and he kept taking wheels off their chariots, so that they were driving them with difficulty. And the Egyptians began to say, "Let us flee from any contact with Israel, because Jehovah certainly fights for them against the Egyptians." Finally Jehovah said to Moses, "Stretch your hand out over the sea, that the waters may come back over the Egyptians, their war chariots and their cavalrymen." Moses at once stretched his hand out over the sea, and the sea began to come back to its normal condition at the approaching of morning. All the while the Egyptians were fleeing from encountering it, but Jehovah shook the Egyptians off into the midst of the sea, and the waters kept coming back. Finally they covered the war chariots and the cavalrymen belonging to all of Pharaoh's military forces, and who had gone into the sea after them. Not so much as one among them was let remain. As for the sons of Israel, they walked on dry land in the midst of the sea bed, and the waters were for them a wall on their right hand and on their left. Thus on that day Jehovah saved Israel from the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel got to see the Egyptians dead on the seashore. Israel also got to see the great hand that Jehovah put in action against the Egyptians, and the people began to fear Jehovah, and to put faith in Jehovah and in Moses his servant.